Welcome to Global Dialogues. Today, we're unpacking one of the most complex and devastating conflicts in the modern Middle East, the war between Saudi Arabia and Yemen. To help us understand its many layers, we're joined by Layla Al-Fahd from Riyadh and Amina Al-Houthi from Sana'a. Ladies, thank you for joining us. Layla, let's start with you. For an audience that may not be familiar with the details, how did this conflict begin? The roots go back decades, but the modern phase really ignited in 2014. That's when the Houthi movement, a militia backed by Iran, took control of Yemen's capital, Sana'a, and overthrew the internationally recognized government. Saudi Arabia didn't see this as a simple local rebellion. We saw it as Iran extending its influence right onto our southern border. So, the Saudi-led coalition intervened in 2015. Our goal was clear: to restore the legitimate government and prevent a regional proxy war from spilling even further. With all due respect, Layla, that is the official Saudi narrative. But from Yemen's perspective, this is about our sovereignty. The Houthis are not just Iranian puppets. They are Yemenis. Yes, they received support, but their uprising was fueled by deep, widespread frustration with years of corruption, poverty, and political exclusion under previous regimes, many of which were, in fact, supported by Riyadh. What started as an internal civil movement was tragically turned into a regional war the moment foreign bombs started falling on Yemeni homes. And yet, almost a decade later, the fighting continues. Why is it still ongoing? Because Iran continues to arm and fund the Houthis. It's a persistent problem. Every single ceasefire attempt has been systematically undermined by Houthi attacks on Saudi territory, targeting our oil facilities, our airports, and even civilian areas. The coalition's objective was never to occupy Yemen. It was to restore order and prevent the country from becoming another failed state that could be used by extremists or militias backed by Tehran. And yet, Yemen today is a failed state, and not just because of the Houthis alone, but because of the Saudi-led blockade and relentless airstrikes. The humanitarian crisis, the famine, the disease, the displacement is catastrophic. Yemen's entire infrastructure has been decimated. If this war were truly about stability, then why are children starving to death while billions of dollars are spent on weapons? The ongoing conflict serves geopolitical interests, not the needs of the Yemeni people. Let's talk more about that. The UN has called Yemen the world's worst humanitarian crisis. How do you both see the human cost of this war? The suffering is absolutely tragic, and no one in Saudi Arabia takes it lightly. It's important to note that Riyadh has also been one of the largest donors of humanitarian aid to Yemen, funding extensive food programs and reconstruction efforts. But we cannot ignore the fact that the Houthis have weaponized humanitarian access. They've been caught stealing aid and deliberately using civilians as human shields. For peace to have a chance, both sides must act responsibly. But the bombs still fall on hospitals, on markets, on schools. No amount of aid can ever compensate for the lives that have been lost. The humanitarian aid that Saudi Arabia gives with one hand is completely overshadowed by the destruction caused by the other. Yemen's sovereignty and our dignity have been violated. We don't need dominance, we need dialogue. Many people in the West don't fully understand why this conflict should matter to them. Why should Americans, Canadians, or Europeans care? Because this conflict directly shapes global security and energy stability. The Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait are vital maritime routes for the entire world. If Yemen becomes a haven for extremist groups or a base for Iranian influence, it poses a direct threat to global oil supplies and international trade routes. Western nations fundamentally benefit from a stable Arabian Peninsula both economically and strategically. And because Western countries are deeply complicit in this war, American and British weapons have fueled this conflict for years. Western taxpayers should care because their governments are selling the very arms being used in Yemen. But beyond economics, this is about our shared humanity. If the West truly values democracy, human rights, and peace, then it must use its leverage to promote genuine negotiation, not military escalation. So, this isn't just Saudi Arabia versus Yemenites, part of a much broader Middle Eastern chessboard. Exactly. Iran uses Yemen as a critical pressure point, supplying the Houthis with drones, missiles, and military training. This isn't speculation, it's well documented. Saudi Arabia simply cannot afford to ignore a heavily armed militia, aligned with our primary regional rival, operating right across our border. But that view reduces Yemen to a proxy battlefield, and it strips us of our agency. Yemenis are not just pawns in a game between Iran and Saudi Arabia. The more the region treats Yemen as a strategic chess piece, the further peace slips away from us. It is time for the world to see Yemenis as people, not as proxies. There have been recent talks about a ceasefire and political dialogue. Is there real hope for peace? Yes, there is. The Saudi government has shown a clear openness to diplomacy, including UN-led peace initiatives and direct talks with Houthi representatives. The focus is now shifting towards reconstruction and dialogue, but this requires concrete guarantees that Iran's influence will not be allowed to reignite instability in the future. Peace will only come when Yemenis are allowed to decide their own fate. That means ending the blockade, withdrawing all foreign troops, and empowering local governance from the ground up. The West can play a crucial role here by supporting humanitarian rebuilding efforts, not military alliances. If you could speak directly to Western policymakers, what would your message be? Support diplomatic and reconstruction initiatives, not just military contracts. Help stabilize Yemen economically so that extremist groups can't exploit the desperation of the people. Saudi Arabia wants a peaceful, prosperous neighbor, not chaos on our border. Listen to Yemeni civilians, not just to governments. Channel aid directly to communities on the ground, and hold all parties accountable for their actions, including those who are profiting from arms sales. True peace requires moral courage, not political convenience. Both of you have presented passionate, compelling arguments. What do you think is the biggest misunderstanding about this conflict from the outside world? That this war is about aggression on our part? It's not. It's about preventing the collapse of a neighboring state and containing threats that could destabilize the entire region. That Yemenis are helpless victims, we are not. We are a resilient people caught between powerful interests. The world should empower our voices, not silence them with bombs or backroom political deals. If both of your countries could set aside these deep-seated grievances, what would a shared future look like? A region of cooperation, trade, and security where Yemen not only thrives on its own, but also contributes to regional prosperity. A sovereign Yemen free from foreign interference, rebuilt with dignity, and respected as an equal partner, not as a client state. Thank you, Layla and Amina. This discussion reveals that the Saudi-Yemen conflict is not simply about borders or ideology. It's about security, sovereignty, and humanity. For those of us in the West, understanding it means recognizing just how interconnected our world has become, where the choices made in Riyadh or Sana'a a ripple all the way to Washington, London, and beyond. Thank you so much for watching this important discussion on global dialogues. If you found this video informative and thought-provoking, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the issues shaping our world. We truly appreciate your support. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below and stay tuned for our next video.